Hi everyone and welcome to this new video introducing a new concept on the channel. Today we're going to talk about Assassin's Creed 3. It was one of the most anticipated AC games of the franchise after two relatively short additions to the Ezio dynasty, Brotherhood and Revelations. Most people were hugely hyped for the release in October 2012, and eventually many were satisfied and thought AC3 was the best in the series, understandably so. But many others were immensely disappointed at the adventure's ending. So in this video, we're going to highlight what AC3 lacked to be the long-awaited ultimate AC game. Of course, this is our personal view of things, and we will gladly discuss it with you guys in the comments. But remember that still, we love AC3. First you have to know we'll skip over the part with Haytham. We believe that it was well made and intriguing, even if it was a bit too long relative to the main story. Connor and Desmond sequences are our main focus, because that's where the game had the most efficiency. This video will be split in two parts. The first one will be dedicated to Connor, our dear Mohawk assassin, and the other to our favorite bartender, Desmond Miles. First of all, and as a striking change, we can't help but miss the ambient sound usually concocted by Jesper Kai to beautify our free exploration sessions. Remember the angelical human sounds and carefully curated and paced piano chords that soar freely in your admiring mind, gazing upon the lightly lit dark horizons of the rooftops of Venice. Strip all of that for a more than ever dull approach to ambient melodies, dropping a huge toll on immersion at the same time. Although the loss isn't all that deplorable, and probably was mostly an artistic choice, why not let the players do it at their own discretion? Fortunately, cutscenes are untouched and still offer a scenery spectacle whenever shit goes down mentally or physically. Considering all this, let us show you how it could have been with ambient music. Now, let's move on to Connor and his involvement in the American Revolution. Was he involved as we expected? The only big battle we took part in is Bunker Hill. If the presence of large-scale battles was a huge argument in the marketing campaign of Ubisoft, so why only one? All trailers features Connor usually accompany Washington to slaughter, decapacitate, and incapacitate infinite waves of incoming redcoats. All in all, large numbers of NPCs, especially on the Patriot side by the way. On screen in earlier versions that didn't flourish on the final product at all, in which we see barely 100 patriots against thousands of English soldiers. The potential reach sounded awesome on paper, and that's when we can assume that old consoles may have been an obstacle on the way. A total remake on next gen is definitely something to dream for, as it would have been a stellar piece of beauty, making it possible to be truly involved in the war. While we're on the subject of missions, the game lacks another area, assassination missions. Way too scripted and fewer compared to previous ACs. The strength of the first two games was the possibility to kill a target as we desire so. Now, almost everything is scripted to develop the narrative at the detriment of creativity while taking away the fun from the player. Elsewhere, they even are embedded in a cinematic, something you'd think you have the least amount of control over, but oh well. Having only a few primary targets and not the freedom to kill them as we desire so is a frustrating feat indeed. Even if a cutscene is beautiful, the exclusion remains a shame, not to mention contracts where your targets are nakedly wandering around with no protections, taking away any possible challenge to be had. As you know, in AC3 we have again the possibility to call our assassins at any time to come for help, and Ubisoft has ensured that we can call them to cause riots, to escort us, etc. And it's a great new mechanic for the game, but way underdeveloped. Missions are clearly constructed in a way where progression is possible without asking for any extra hands, except for the hard takeover like fort attacks. Again, such a shame regarding the potential. So, about the story of Connor. It's not up to us to say whether he was a good or bad character, it's mainly subjective. Either you do or not admit it, it must be that time goes way too fast, leaving us with a thirst to know more and spend more time deciphering his character. We only play him for 6 sequences, with the last ones being short, and at the end, we end up being sort of left with a feeling of frustration. Noted that Alex Hutchinson, creative director of the game, had said in an interview that they could have added a lot of additional hours of gameplay, but they didn't do that to make sure the player is not bored and don't abandon the game. Perhaps they should have added more missions and sequences. Let's talk about the Davenport homestead. At first sight, the idea of renovating the homestead and attracting citizens is nice. You need to create your small village. It looks like you found your own mini nation. All this is anchored perfectly in the context of the game, the birth of the United States. But it doesn't matter much in the story of Assassin's Creed. I mean, we play the assassins at a time when they're all almost decimated. Rather than trying to create a thriving small village, why not rebuild the Brotherhood and resurrect the domain headquarters from its ashes? I'm not saying we should throw away the idea of creating a village, helping citizens to develop their trade and whatnot, but it occupies too much space in the game and represents most of the side missions. And no doubt will you agree that it would have been so great to rebuild the Brotherhood. We imagine a mix between the villa of AC2 and the homestead of AC3, where you would achieve missions to save the citizens who would then join the Brotherhood. Then you can invest your money to build the homestead, you know, buying training area, etc. My explanation is a bit confusing, but I hope you get the whole idea. And finally, we talk about a few adjustments to the gameplay that could have been made. For example, the AI. One of the most numbing things in AC3 is when you take your bow, shoot a guy from afar while you're quite out of sight or hidden, and eventually all the other guys instantly turn around and spot you. No matter where you are, they know where to find you, so it begins the chase. This is simply annoying and avoids you even attempting a stealthy approach. And to conclude with Connor and the gameplay, another most disappointing aspect is the free aim with bow or gun. If you shoot in the arms or the legs of the guards, they always react the same way. It would have been awesome if you shoot their legs, they start crawling, trying to escape from you, etc. Like we saw in one of the first trailers of the game. It's time to talk about our dear Desmond Miles. Again, either you love his story or you hate it. However, it's him the main assassin of the franchise, and that's why the modern day story deserved to be developed much more in AC3. The sequences with Desmond. So, regarding the Desmond part, there are a lot of things that are quite frustrating as well. First of all, the lack of glyphs, puzzles in the Animus. We think in AC2 and ACB it was one of the best things about the modern day plot. It gave us the opportunity to unlock intriguing content. It showed off this mysterious and so fascinating side of the franchise with all these conspiracies and plots throughout the ages. Thereupon, it was a sensible letdown, we can say that. Especially when we know that at the end of AC Revelations, Subject 16 sacrifices himself to save us, and once Desmond is out of his coma we can see his arms glow. Or at least one of them. From there, tons of theories have been out on the net, some saying that Clay would have become one with Desmond integrating his consciousness, others said that Clay had shared his latest knowledge and we would see it as it certain glyphs in AC3, etc. Theories on Subject 16 have spread out throughout the waiting game, and finally there was nothing of that, apart from a few allusions to the character, but nothing more. Too bad, shame, there was so much potential. Let's talk about missions, which consist of only 3. This sentence alone highlights a big lack in this aspect. 3 missions to conclude the setup of Desmond is really way too short. No doubt a lot of you are going to totally disagree because you don't appreciate the moments with him to begin with, and it's understandable. However, the basic idea of the AC franchise was in the last episode Desmond became the ultimate assassin with all the skills of his ancestors, and in AC3 they totally missed that opportunity. We had an idea that could totally satisfy everyone, or almost indeed. We doubt that it would have pleased the developers who already had a busy schedule during the development of the game. The idea is simple. Why not create side missions for Desmond? Same as optional naval missions in the game. We'll show you screenshots to illustrate this. Those who want to learn more about Desmond and stab some Templars at different locations can simply visit the Desmond computer as you see here. Then just look at the present map. Then by clicking on the map you would access all the assassination contracts for Desmond, only in America. The homestead represents the area where the temple is located. Here's what it would look like. This is an example of a mission where Upstair Go would be close to the temple and you'd have to eliminate the guards before they find the entrance. This mission would be to track down Daniel Cross and kill him with the real dialogue between the two characters once the task is done. This mission would be to find Upstair Go's CEO in the company's headquarters in Philadelphia. And so you get the idea. Now let's talk about main missions. The first one is Desmond based on parkour is really awesome, helping us to exploit our modern day assassin's abilities at the same time. But the outcome could have been a lot better. After having climbed the crane and doing our parachute jump to the top of Upstair Go's building, why wasn't there a stealth sequence built in? Who wouldn't have liked if it traded this big facility to get to the power source? Brilliant would have been to do that while having the choice to spare or kill guards in the process, like for example say in Splinter Cell. Instead, a cinematic returns to Daniel Cross's life intervenes, terribly so, since Revelations we've been told how vicious this creature is, with one single main objective: hunting assassins and particularly Desmond and his father. Instead we face a slightly stupid, disoriented villain concluding the mission on a frustrating note. Alrighty then, moving along to the second task situated in Brazil, consisting also of getting another power source in a stadium during an MMA match. The setting is original and refreshing. We have to blend in until we reach our end, but the whole thing feels scripted, as if our moves were constrained. Cool nonetheless. But once again, like our encounter with Daniel Cross, it felt underdeveloped and quite frustrating. However, Ubisoft slided a little thingy, letting the character develop just a teeny bit more. It's a small bonus hidden at the end of the mission. Simply when you run after Cross to take away the power source, if you sway guards away and manage to hide in a bush, you will hear him on the line with Vidic. A little discovery by Access the Animus. I'll leave the pleasure for the most curious amongst you to see it. Now, let's talk about the last one, and probably the most disappointing, unfortunately. Where are the out of Upstair Go? So let's just back off a second here. Upstair Go. So Desmond gets in through the main entrance. Is super incoherent to begin with. Why not let him infiltrate just like in the first mission? It's supposed to be highly secure, and yet he strolls around as he sees fit. Who wouldn't have dreamt of an infiltration to assassinate Vidic and Cross while saving William? I know I do. And while we're at it, Cross's death is completely abysmal. No cinematic, no nothing. To worsen things up even more, Ubisoft already recorded a monologue for a death scene which you can see here, but it didn't end up being taken. Ridiculous deaths, you say? Vidic is another case where he prefers gently asking for the apple instead of killing Desmond and getting it himself. One would say, yeah, but he's loved to have his memories explored. Except that AC3 shows that the access is possible even when Desmond is dead. Vidic wasn't that bright-minded after all. You get it. Desmond missions are few and far between, very short and sometimes very frustrating. Where's the ultimate assassin we were all hoping for? The one who would have infiltrated Upstair Go and took his revenge against Templars with claws? It would have been awesome to have a dialogue between Vidic and Desmond before the former's death, wouldn't it? Quite the letdown even if we have to restate the missions with the modern day assassin were still very cool. And so to finish, we shall talk about the Desmond ending. Truthfully, in and of itself, it's good, or at least the idea is good. The short cinematic where we're shown the words fate if Desmond doesn't touch the pedestal is quite the spectacular show. However, its biggest flaw that it's very rapidly forwarded, giving the impression of being half-assed even. Perhaps the ending would have been a lot more appreciated if what was said is included in the game. But even so, an ending like that leaves us with an aftertaste of dissatisfaction. So, here's to an ending thought out by a fan, the perfect way to end the Desmond cycle. The ending is the same as the original, except the moment where Desmond is about to touch the orb to save the world. At this point, Minerva would have done anything to stop Desmond. Knowing that she will die out the way, Minerva decides to stop Desmond. She comes up to kill Desmond and throws Sean, Rebecca, and Desmond's dad out of the room and blocking them off. Then comes the epic 3-part boss battle. Part 1. Desmond tries to fight Minerva, but she summons a bunch of shadow guys to fight with her, like normal soldiers. Desmond gets his ass beat by Minerva, then a cutscene plays. Minerva is about to kill Desmond but starts taunting him. You humans are weak. How did you hope to defeat Juno if not me? You're alone, about to die. But then Connor steps out in front of Desmond. He is not alone. Altair and Ezio also appear out of the ether and pull out their signature weapons, and the second part starts. I would explain this by saying the bleeding effect is finally in full effect. It is not really the past assassins, but Desmond's brain making the images. Also, they are in the weird cave thing where connection to the Animus is a lot stronger. The cave connecting Desmond to Connor in the start. Part 2. Hundreds of enemies engulf the 4 assassins and they fight them off together. One by one, Minerva kills each one until only Desmond is left. This part should include some really badass shots of them fighting together. Part 3. Minerva again comes at Desmond to finish him. Then the hawk sound comes. That's the synchronization sound. And Desmond turns into Connor for a split second and kicks Minerva with signature roll. Now a final battle between just Desmond and Minerva where Minerva has a lot of health. However, this should be the craziest moment of the game. During the fight, Desmond is constantly turning into Connor, Ezio, Altair, and even himself, and back to himself, while the background is also randomly changing between the cave and different places of the past games were set in Italy, America, and Masyaf. Then, Minerva's health is depleted, the final cutscene plays. Minerva is on the ground, and Desmond is slowly walking towards her. Minerva, how did you defeat me? Desmond, you shouldn't have doubted us. We're a lot stronger than you think. Desmond draws out his hidden blade. Minerva says, good luck. Desmond nods and stabs her. He steps to the orb and touches it. That's it! The outcome is completely the same, but it feels like the journey is 100% more satisfying and gratifying because it gives all 4 assassins the exit they deserve and a truly epic ending to the Desmond's trilogy. Now that's an ending. However, wishful and far-fetched it may be, I'll leave it to you to imagine how epic it would have been. That's the end to our video. AC3 remains an excellent game with a very interesting story and a gameplay offering a big step forward to the series, magnificent animations, and it had a lot going for it to become the ultimate Assassin's Creed if the potential wasn't wasted. Let's say that the ad campaign of Ubisoft left us long drooling and we've fallen off from way up high it seems. Maybe we should have stayed in a cave throughout the whole of 2012 to not be disappointed. Maybe it's the key to appreciate an Assassin's Creed, to not idealize it. All throughout this video we shared our ideas of improvement, adjustments and enhancements to make the Assassin's Creed 3 even better. Surely we're aware of how easy it is to not want everything redone with ifs. The core game is very good, do not mistake this, and some of our ideas aren't detrimental, but we were eager to share them with our feelings. Anyway, we hope you liked this video despite of being loosely conceived, and don't hesitate to share your feelings and thoughts of any overhaul concerning the century of the series.